Hello everyone, welcome to this very short video where I'm just going to go over my experiences of writing the General IELTS test, and more specifically the computer-based test. So in this video there are kind of three things I'm going to focus on. The first one is just getting ready for the computer-delivered General IELTS. Okay. Focusing on preparation. The second section is going to be looking at my experiences of each section with some tips. This is by no means a comprehensive coverage of what to expect in each section. There are lots of resources which you can access to read up on that. I will include it in the description of this video. But section 2 is just really going to focus on how I experienced dealing with each of these sections on the day, and more specifically having to answer each of these sections on a computer. Okay, and then finally some test day tips. I mean, we are living now in a COVID pandemic, and that has altered the ways in which we do everyday life. So just some general tips about arriving there with your mask, you know, the kind of practicalities around speaking with a mask. I'll just touch on those very briefly. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to make it clear that I'm not an IELTS tutor or a specialist trainer in it. Okay, I needed to do the IELTS general test for a specific reason, and we know the reasons can include immigration, wanting to study abroad, or maybe for applying for a position overseas. Okay, and here are my marks, my band scores for listening, reading, writing, and speaking, and an overall band score 8.5. Okay. And then what you will also get, depending on what your band score is a kind of very generic comment at the bottom. For example, very good user, and a little blurb about that. Okay, so just to let you know that I am talking and I'm sharing my experience from someone who did General IELTS and got a band score of 8.5. Okay, so listening was the first section that I received on the day. As you might be familiar with the section, that you only get 40 minutes for this, right? Audio clips are played only once, and you have to fill in the missing information. You have to type it out. Okay, so generally what will happen is that you'll be given a few seconds just to read over the questions and to familiarize yourself with the kinds of content and that you can expect, right? You can almost be guaranteed, certain, that you are going to be required to capture numbers or letters or some sort of combination, as we can see here, right? Example P2WER3445. Okay, it could be someone's cell phone number, it could be a street address. Often it can be a street address and a cell phone number. It could be a reference number for an insurance claim. Okay, but also what you might find is that very often a person will start saying a number, and then halfway through they will be corrected, or they'll say, oh no, sorry sir, not your cell phone number, your reference number. So they might have started saying, you know, 0739, and then other speaker might say, no, sorry, it has to have a letter in it. Okay, and that can often be quite challenging to backspace, because now you need to listen, you need to type, and it's very easy to become disorientated, right? If you find yourself battling with the numbers, they do give you a pen and paper for all the sections. Okay, maybe just for that question you might consider writing it down. Okay, writing it down, just to ensure that you can capture it correctly. So use that. Also, a very useful strategy that I found both practicing and doing the test is always to read one question ahead. Okay, so have question 1 and 2 you know, kind of in your immediate attention, and as soon as you answer question 1, your focus shifts to questions 2 and 3. As soon as you've answered question 2, your focus shifts to 3 and 4. Right, this is very useful because sometimes questions can come, you know, in quite close succession, right? And other times it can be one answer and then 20 seconds, 30 seconds before you get another one, right? So just to help you guys keep track of the questions. Right? The next thing is that always expect a visual question. Okay, so let's just go to this resource here, this web page. I'll share the link to this one as well. We have an audio here, 7 minutes long, and we can see the kinds of information that you would need to capture. All right, what you can see is I've captured the policy number here. So you can see it's a combination of both letters and numbers. Okay, so you are given time to read this. You know that, oh, I'm going to have to find out what Elizabeth's surname is, address number, policy number, etc. Right? But then also what you might get is some sort of visualization, right? This is, it could be a map, it could be a diagram, and you need to fill that out, right? Listening is quite challenging because you have to listen, you need to actually read and understand what's happening in the image itself, and then you also need to ensure, okay, where are the traffic lights? Where are the petrol station? And the best way to improve with this is to practice it. Practice, practice, practice. And it can be a different combination. It can be a map. It can be a graph. It can be a table. Okay, you will receive some sort of visual information that you need to fill in. Okay, so the next major section is reading. And here you get 60 minutes. Okay, for the general IELTS, in my personal opinion, I think 60 minutes is more than enough to read everything that you are given. Okay, some videos you might come across suggest not reading the entire passage, but I think for general you have more than enough time. Okay, the most important thing here is to check your spelling, and also to ensure that you understand the content that is in the passages, right? And you understand the questions. Very often they make use of synonyms. Okay, so if we go back to what this mock test here, we can see that reading consists of 3 sections, section 1, 2, and 3. You have enough time to read this whole of passage 1. Right, it's not that long. Okay, generally what I would do is I would read the questions just very briefly, okay, to get general sense of what I need to be answering, and then I would go and read, and then eventually, now because I have an understanding of what the passage is about and the questions I need to answer, I have a better understanding, then I can go and look for the answers. Right. As you will see in this question, in section 1, the different kind of responses you need to give. So for questions 1 to 8, it's true, false, not given. You just select whichever one is true, whichever one applies to that question, sorry. One thing I did notice when practicing for this, they're always going to have a question that is true, false, and not given. Right. That might be quite helpful for you, because you might go through question 1 to 8 and say, oh, I don't have a not given. One of them, there needs to be one of each. Okay, that's what I kind of covered from engaging with the material online, because they want to assess your understanding. Okay, so there's that. Then you can also just multiple choice questions as well. Section 2, it begins to get a bit more complex. So generally section 1 is quite general, and by the time you get to section 3, it's a bit more academic. Once again here, guys, the most important thing as well is to be aware of instructions. No more than 2 words. So when you are typing things out here, right, you need to be sure that you're only using a maximum of 2 words. Anything more, you will get it wrong. Okay, no more than 2 words, the same thing. Okay, and as we can see, this is not particularly long, right? There's a lot of information, yes, but we can see that there are headings. Use the headings to guide yourself through that. And then this one here, generally the last one is the most difficult, the longest, and it can tend to be quite academic, depending on your topic. All right, so here you can read it all as well, if you want. If the paragraphs are a little small, I mean, if there are fewer paragraphs, because here there's actually quite a lot of paragraphs. If there's maybe 7 major paragraphs or 8 major paragraphs, it might be useful just to read it and try to summarize it in 1 or 2 lines. That might help you navigate through it. But once again, look at the questions, look at what is required of you. All right. Okay, so after the listening and reading, your next section is the writing. And this is a nice change because you get to be a bit creative. In this section, you are given a letter and an essay to write. The guidelines are 20 minutes for the letter and 40 minutes for the essay. This is quite flexible depending on how you write, of course. It's not like 20 minutes and now you have to start the essay. Okay. The letter needs to be a minimum of 150 words, and the most important thing is to identify whether it is a formal, semi-formal, or informal. Okay. Now, but because you are aware that there are websites out there to practice on, use those web pages. The most important thing is to identify what type of letter it is and to structure it appropriately and ensure that you use the kind of language associated with that. Okay. On my test day, I got a formal letter because the instructions were to start off with dear sir or madam. Okay. You do know that, you know, if it is a formal, you have to write in a particular way. You need to sign off in a particular way as well, or end off in a particular way. Right. So if you go to this IELTS.IELTSexams.net, you can see the different salutation and examples. Right. What's also great there is they give you these examples. Right. And they're very clear about who the letter is going to be written to and what do you need to include in it. Usually 3 points. So you need to ensure that in your 150 words, you address all of those points. Over and above checking your spelling. Okay. And what's quite nice is you get the example and below is a model answer. Right? Don't worry if yours isn't exactly the same. Of course, there's going to be differences, but think to yourself, do I have the same structure? Do I address the person in the same way? Do I sign off in the same way? Do I have enough word count? Is my word count enough sufficient? You will get penalized if you have less than 150 words. Okay. My advice for this is that if you are practicing, is to do so in Notepad. Now, the reason why I say Notepad is because Notepad has no a spelling check in it, because you will not have that on the day. Okay. Then what you can do is you can obviously take it from your Notepad, paste it into Microsoft Word and see where your errors are. So that's one way in which you can improve your writing. Okay. And there's a variety of topics you can write on, and just practice. Practice writing formal, semi-formal, and informal letters, because you don't know on the day what you're going to get. The second writing task is going to be an essay, okay, which needs to be more than 200 or at least 250 words. Here's an example here. Many people believe that zoos have no purpose in today's world and should be closed. What problems do zoos bring? What are the alternatives to zoos if they are closed? So there's a lot of information actually there. You know, multiple questions, and you need to ensure that you answer each of those aspects in your essay, whilst at the same time ensuring that you are following the correct essay structure, a good essay structure. In other words, it has to have an introduction, it has to have a body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and a conclusion. Right? Don't try to cram too many ideas into each body, right, or each paragraph, sorry, and try to vary your sentence structure. Okay, that will demonstrate to the examiner that you have a good command of the English language. I say that, but I only got 7.5, and I thought my essays and letter were quite good. But it could be, you know, I did a couple of mistakes, right, spelling mistakes, commas, etc. Ensure when you're doing this that you have time to go back and proofread them both. Right, minor things like spacing, commas, Make sure that there's a good flow and structure to both your letter, to your essay. Have I answered everything that is requested of me, right? A useful practice is to write a letter, to write an essay, and give it to another person to read and to get just some sort of general feedback. My wife and I were writing on the same day, so we often got each other to read our letters or our essays and to say, no, it's good. Maybe this word doesn't fit in with a formal letter, for example. Okay, and once again, please access these websites, these resources. The information is there for you, and practice, practice, practice. Okay, so the last section is speaking, which is roughly between 11 and 14 minutes. My best advice is just to be yourself. Don't try to incorporate words you wouldn't ordinarily use, or you're a bit unsure of the meaning of the word, or you've heard it in conversation or on the news, or you've read it but you don't know how to use it. Just be yourself. Think of it as you're going for a job interview, right? Be yourself, be honest, talk from your own position. You might not be an expert on the topic they give you. That's absolutely fine. The topic is generally something quite general: sports, cities, etc. Right? What YouTube videos on it? I think YouTube videos are absolutely fantastic because they normalize our kind of expectations. You will see and hear people making mistakes, stuttering, there's silences, there's pauses. You know, it's very possible to get a good mark in speaking even if you make a mistake. Okay. One thing you might need to consider is that, and at least for me with my experience, is that I went and did the computer delivered test during COVID, the COVID pandemic. And for the speaking part, I had to wear a mask. Now you need to realize that a lot of our communication, although it's auditory, right, is also visual, right? How many of us have, we wearing this mask and all we want to do is pull the mask down so the person can see what we are saying, okay? So, you can't do that, but what you can do is that you can talk a lot slower, ensure that you enunciate and your voice is projected so the person, the examiner, can hear you clearly. Right? The most difficult component of this is your topic card. Once again, there's material on this, but what this basically entails is that they give you a piece of paper and on it has a topic. You get 1 minute to prepare on it and 2 minutes to talk on it. My one was about someone in the community who enjoys helping others, if I remember correctly. The best advice for this, guys, is actually prepare doing this, because talking for 2 minutes is actually quite a long time. So get comfortable preparing something for a minute and talking on it for 2 minutes. After you've spoken on the topic for 2 minutes, the examiner then will ask you follow-up questions. Oh, you said X, Y, and Z about this person. Have they always been like that? Okay, so be prepared for follow-on questions. All right, and finally, just some test day tips. As I said, as everyone knows, we're in 2021. Expect some delays because of COVID. Hand sanitizing, social distancing, taking temperatures, screening people. I was meant to start at 9 a.m. And I only walked into my test venue and sat by my computer at 9:30. It was still another 10-15 minutes before I actually started the test. Okay, so expect some delays. They're very good with allowing you to go to toilet breaks. Okay, so don't worry about that. It is a long day. Right, 2 sections are 60 minutes, another section is 40 minutes, and then you have a break, and then you go into your speaking depending on when you have booked it. It is a long day, so make sure you have a good breakfast, and you bring some snacks or lunch with you, and keep hydrated, drink some water. I really do think that the computer delivered IELTS test, particularly for the general, is very doable, right? If you're comfortable with the computer, you work on a computer in your day-to-day job, right? Or you just come home and do a lot of emails, or you just feel at home at a computer, by all means, please do it. The computer-based test is easy to navigate. You can use tab, right? But of course, if you haven't done the mock tests and you're not familiar with the layout, some of the quick shortcuts, etc., it can be a bit daunting. If that's the case, there's absolutely it's absolutely fine to go with the written test. Okay. Also, to know that no valuables are allowed with you, not even watches. Okay. They do have lockers where you can leave your valuables, but it's best to leave, your valuables at home. Just come with the bare essentials, your cell phone, wallet, etc., and leave it in the locker, and you can collect it afterwards. And lastly, I know this is a difficult one, but stay calm, right? Stay calm, cool, collected. The night before, start winding down. Don't worry about last minute cramming. The morning of the test, I would suggest not doing anything at all. You've prepped all you can. Just go there, try your best. And even after the test is done, try and remain calm. One of the great things, one of the advantages of the computer delivered General IELTS is that you get your results quite quickly. Generally, I think it's 5 to 7 days. Okay, stay calm, practice, be confident in where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, try to identify them and improve on them. Okay, I hope this video has helped. You can leave a comment in the comment section if you have anything specific you would like to ask me. But other than that, good luck, happy learning, and I wish you all the highest band scores possible for your General IELTS. Cheers.